Welcome to CorkCon this week, episode number 24, the show where I give you my opinion on some of the biggest stories in the world of CorkCon from the past week. Now, this is my opinion on the stories. If you want to learn more about these stories, in the show notes down below, I have a full breakdown of all the stories so you can learn more. Now, I would love to hear also what you think. What were some of the biggest stories from the past week? What do you think of the stories I covered? Let me hear your opinion. Leave a comment down below. I'd love to hear from you. Let's dive right into it. First off, Comcast has a new way to fight back against CorkCon. And what seems to be a last-ditch effort to at least rake in some extra profits before CorkCon completely takes them out, Comcast is limiting their fastest internet plans in some markets to their TV subscribers. So we first learned about this plan recently when in Houston they upgraded the speed for TV players, but not for cord cutters. For instance, 60 down, customers got up to like 100 or so down. But if you were an internet-only subscriber, you didn't get that deal. Now they are limiting the download, the internet speed you could buy as a cord cutter. Now their very top tiers are not available to anybody but the customers who have TV packages, according to Boing Boing. But that's not a big deal because, for instance, in Houston, the slowest package they were offering was 60 down. 60 down is more than enough to be a cord cutter. That's 12 HD Netflix streams simultaneously streaming in your home. So I know a lot of people like fast speed. It's a downer a little bit. The good news though, and the weird thing, and it's a weird thing right now also when you look at why Comcast is doing this now, is internet competition is really starting to roll out across the country. You have fiber rolling out in many markets. You have 5G by the end of this year, should be in 30 to 40 markets, with probably half the country covered by 2020. And then you have fixed wireless options. So these new internet providers are starting to finally bring true competition to the world of cord cutting. And now Comcast is suddenly saying, hey, you know, this seems like a good time to try to upsell our internet-only customers just as real competition's coming. I have a feeling this is going to be a backfire move for them because, you know, with all new technology, it's usually a few dollars more when it first comes out. So let's say 5G is even $20 more than Comcast when it first comes out in your market. You may be much more willing to get it because it will offer a faster speed and it won't be Comcast. And Comcast sure is upsetting a lot of people with this move. So it feels very short term. It feels like they're like, hey, let's grab all the money we can as quickly as we can and forget about the long-term implications of this move. So we'll wait and see what happens. But let me know, would you, even if you get slower speed, what does this do when you think of Comcast? Does it make you much less likely to use them? Make you maybe get DSL even if it's slightly slower? I know DSL in many areas, like my area, is actually faster than cable. DSL here offers a gigabyte option where cable does not. So let me know what you think. Next up, PlayStation Vue has dropped all Sinclair-owned ABC, CBS, Fox, and NBC affiliates. So this means Tribune and Sinclair-owned locals have been dropped. That probably moves PlayStation Vue from being, at one point they were the #1 service to most locals. They were like 2 or 3 right now, depending on who you talk to. Probably moves them down, maybe even 5th. Fubo TV now has over 250. Hulu's the leader. YouTube is right up there. Probably, again, they're probably going back and forth between the two services right now. DirecTV now has a lot of locals. So it's very possible that PlayStation Vue is 5th, maybe 4th now in the world of locals. But why did this happen? Well, Sinclair sent a statement out to Cord Cutters Talk that says, we regret Sony was not willing to meet certain requirements for carrying our stations. Probably money, I don't know, but certain requirements. We remind Sony subscribers, continue to read here, we remind Sony subscribers that there are other video distribution options able to receive our broadcast stations, including Sony's direct competitor YouTube TV, which continues to carry stations that Sony has dropped. Fortunately, subscribers of PlayStation Vue can terminate the subscription at any time without fees. Very easy or interesting thing here. First of all, interesting that Sinclair pointed out YouTube TV when DirecTV Now, Hulu, Fubo TV, and others like Charter's internet streaming service all carry Sinclair locals, but they picked out YouTube TV specifically. Kind of interesting they did that, maybe just the one that was at the top of their mind. And it's kind of interesting that they are really pushing that, hey, you can cancel anytime. arguments, let's assume this is about money. Arguments like this are not unusual. It's very common for Comcast, Dish, DirecTV, etc. have these arguments. What is unfortunate in this version is how I think Sony handled it. Sony only gave about an hour's notice. Around 11 p.m. Eastern, Sony started sending out emails saying, hey, tomorrow we're deleting all your DVR recordings from Sinclair stations or removing them from our locals. We are replacing them with on-demand. Now, it's not the full on-demand. You're not going to get your locals anymore, local news, reruns, all kinds of stuff that would air on that is available with the on-demand. I think Sony could have had a PR win here if they come out a week before and say, hey, we're negotiating with Sinclair. They want a lot more money than we're willing to pay them. So if you want your Sinclair locals on PlayStation View, email, phone call, get a hold of Sinclair. Comcast, Dish, DirecTV Now have been doing this for years, where when these things happen, you see those crawls going along the bottom of the screen that says that. Usually they're just competed across, which I find funny, is they like stack them on top of each other, where Sinclair would blame them and then PlayStation View would blame Sinclair. I always find that funny, but I think Sony could have really done a good opportunity here to create this as PR victory. Sony is just like, hey, email that just says, hey, we're dropping it. We're deleting your DVR. You get on demand. It wasn't necessarily the best PR move they've ever had. Not that Sony's ever been very good at PR. They're probably one of the worst PR of the live TV streaming services. Just to be honest, their PR sucks. But this was a really bad disaster. They could have handled this a lot better. Upset a lot of their customers. And I really think Sony didn't need to upset their customers. There was a way for Sony to handle this that would have made their customers understand it better, at least. Now, there are other live TV streaming services, DirecTV Now, YouTube, Hulu, Fubo, and more. Of course, though, an antenna may be your best option. Don't have to pay for your locals, great HD, hook up a DVR to your antenna, and you're set to go. So keep an eye on this, though. First kind of major public blow up between a local affiliate and a streaming service. Look for more of these to come in the future. All right, next up is Hulu has announced, it's not available now, but they've announced it, the ability to download movies and TV shows for offline viewing. This was announced last year by Hulu's old CEO, which is now over at Sony, who is now over at Sony. But you will still be able to download for the 2018-2019 season, so probably this fall, videos for offline viewing. Now, if you have a plan that has commercials, there will be ads in it. So the download will include ad breaks built into it. The interesting thing here, I'm not sure anybody has got a straight answer from Hulu on, is if you pay for the ad-free, will the download still include ads, or will it be an ad-free or limited, or whatever they call it, version. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. But this helps Hulu compete better with Netflix and Amazon, who both already offer a download option. So we'll keep an eye on it. Hulu also announced that they've hit 20 million subscribers. They have renewed The Handmaid's Tale for a third season. So now they're way past where the book ever was on it. And they said that the Handmaid's Tale, look at the launch of it versus the launch of season 1, it seemed like double the audience. So Hulu has a real hit on their side. They're really seeing great growth. I love the fact that they're bringing a lot more original programming out. And I love the fact that they're bringing download, because I travel a lot. Even if you don't travel a lot, those few times you do travel, whether it be a long car trip, plane trip, train trip, it's really nice to have your content right there. So keep an eye on this story. It'd be interesting to see how Hulu does their ad insertion on this. I understand their way to do it. The fact that they can offer a cheap $7.99 plan is because they have ads. It's the reason why they're a lot cheaper than Netflix, a lot cheaper than Amazon's, because they have ads. If you don't want ads, you can pay for the high-end version, but you have to remember that cheap price comes because you're paying for ads, so keep that in mind. Lastly is net neutrality. There's a lot of net neutrality bills floating around right now. California and New York have the most interesting ones. California's law just passed through committee again, and it has an extra provision on it that would ban zero rating, which basically says that, for example, AT&T offers unlimited data or streaming of DirecTV Now. It doesn't count against your data cap. California would make that illegal, so you wouldn't be able to offer zero ratings, what's called, where you say DirecTV Now on AT&T is unlimited, but Sling TV has a data cap, which makes a lot of sense. That has a closer argument to net neutrality than the New York one does. New York is proposing to also ban, not only impose net neutrality laws, but ban data caps. That one is interesting because there's a real argument to be made that that's not a net neutrality issue. Because what's next? So you're going say you can't limit cell phone minutes, cell phone texts, trips. How many fountain drinks can you get? So there's a real argument there, and I do wonder if New York. It means Green won't pass this bill, but I wonder if these bills should be separate items. Because there's a real argument to be made that there's precedent for limiting what you get based on what you pay. No free refills is one of the classics a lot of people bring up with this. But text messages, phone minutes, etc. has a history of being limited to it. So I would say, you're opening up a can of worms for a legal case here that the ISPs could be made to fight this net neutrality bill. I love the idea of banning data caps, but I'm worried about how this will play out in court. It should be interesting. Do look for this, especially the data cap law, to be challenged in court, because there's a lot of precedent on the side of cable companies for this kind of stuff. I still stand behind my earlier saying that data caps, the real way to get rid of data caps is competition. When we get 5G and fixed wireless and fiber, and instead of having one or two options, maybe three if you're super lucky, having 5, 6, 7 options for home internet, then they have to compete, and then things like data caps will go away. But I wish them the best of luck in the New York bill with this, but I do question how successful that's going to be based on our court challenge. I'm no lawyer, but from what I'm reading online, there is a lot of concerns that there is a real ability here for ISPs to challenge this net neutrality law on the basis that of the banning of data caps. So we'll wait and see what happens there. I know people are going to say, well, Charter had banned. Well, not necessarily banned. Charter agreed in order to buy Time Warner to not impose data caps for 7 years. Now, that wasn't a law. These kind of things happen all the time. For instance, when Comcast bought Universal, they had agreed for a set amount of time to be completely hands off of Hulu. They could maintain their ownership stake via their NBC purchase, but they were unable to basically be involved in the day-to-day operations of Hulu. And so those kind of requirements, those are gentlemen's agreements, for lack of a better term there, human agreements, those handshake deals in legal print form, which basically says, if you agree to prove us this, we will do that. This is very different. There is no trade here. There's no agreement. This is a law that can be challenged in court. So keep a close eye on that. I'd love to hear your opinions, though. Increasingly, net neutrality laws are rolling out across the United States, with states rolling them out. At this rate, I know there's bills in the House and the Senate for net neutrality. They may not be needed. If a majority of the states have net neutrality laws, ISPs are going to be in a spot where they're just going to say, hey, majority of the states don't have net neutrality laws. Trying to implement this kind of stuff in 1 or 2 states isn't worth the trouble. It may just bring those states to roll out net neutrality laws also. So keep a close eye on this. Net neutrality is far from dead. And like I said, though, the doom and gloom stories, always take them with a grain of salt. The positive stories always take a grain of salt. While things are looking positive, take it with a grain of salt, because the truth usually is somewhere between doom and gloom and overly positive. Somewhere over here is where the reality of what's going to happen is. So keep that in mind. All right, hey, if you're new here, hit that thumbs up. I would really appreciate your support. I'd love to hear from you. What do you think about these stories? What do you think about the net neutrality laws, and specifically the zero rating law and the adding in the ban of data caps in New York? I'd love to know what your opinion is on it. Do you think it's going to be successful? I'm no lawyer. I'm just kind of talking to people who are and hearing what they're saying. So I'd love to hear what you think. Also, what do you think about PlayStation Vue? Are you a PlayStation Vue customer? Are you upset? Are you happy now that they've lost Tribune and Sinclair locals recently? Let me know what you think. I'd love to hear from you. Hit that subscribe button, hit that thumbs up. Join us every Wednesday at 5 p.m. Eastern for our weekly cord cutting Q&A, where I'm live on YouTube for an hour at 8 p.m. Eastern, answering your cord cutting related questions, hopefully helping you get more out of your cord cutting experience. Thank you for subscribing. Hit that thumbs up. It's a huge help.